Welcome to the Market Enthusiast podcast, where Good Life's Noah Brooks, Chief Market Strategist, and Chris Needs, Senior Research Analyst, break down today's topics, covering their impact on the economy and personal finance in a fun, easy-to-understand way for investors of all levels.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Market Enthusiast. As always, I'm Noah Brooks, and obviously Chris Needs is with me today.
Happy Nvidia earnings day for all those who celebrate.
Yeah, is that what we're doing today?
I celebrate.
I don't think this is going to be posted before it comes out. So for people that are listening to this on Thursday morning, I don't know that we have a prediction of what's going to happen.
We're not here to predict.
No.
We can't do price targets.
I know they are going to say something.
Yeah? Big numbers coming.
Big numbers coming. Well, big number. I mean, they're like $4.4 trillion today, $4.5 trillion.
They are bigger than the FTSE 100 by like 1.5 trillion. They're almost as big as the Nikkei 225, and Japan is
that's the entire
third largest economy in the world.
So you're saying they're as big as the entire Japanese stock market?
The Nikkei 225.
Yeah.
They're large cap.
I mean, but the small caps, you know.
Hmm.
So I said today when we came in here, I was going to be really enthusiastic because 60-40 is back, baby.
It's back.
60-40 is back. If you have 60% of your money in the S&P 500, 40% of your money in the bond ag, without any fees, without any internal expenses, you are up about 8.5 for the year. And I know you're going to say something like, oh, it's not that great or something like that.
The ag is down. It's coming on the end of this month, or this month would be 60 months in a drawdown. So it shows how bad 22 set us up and how far the ag went down in 2022. But
yeah.
Got to come out of that drawdown sometime. Up 8.5% is a good number.
Yeah. Well, it seems like short-term rates are falling with the speculation around the Federal Reserve. What's going to happen with the White House, the administration. I mean, it's a given that Jay Powell's not going to be there next year. Whether he serves out his term or not is still up for debate. I speculate that he probably will. But whoever the administration installs as the chairperson for the Federal Reserve, I mean, they're going to do it knowing they're going to have to lower rates for the president. So that's going to push the short end, right? The Federal Reserve controls the short end of the curve, the overnight lending rate, and they have tools in their arsenal to do some other things. But realistically, they're not going to have a broad impact on the 30-year or 20-year bond or even the 10-year bonds.
Yeah.
So that's in play. That's in play. But to your point, I mean, 5 years. And obviously this is the broad index, 5 years of not really making a lot of money in fixed income, in bonds. That is a long time. Not as long as a lost decade in the stock market, but a lost 5 years nonetheless.
Yeah. Tougher people highly allocated to bonds over that full time. So you're thinking the older folks who maybe are in retirement or close to retirement their returns have been drawn backwards by that allocation, but it's coming up this year. We're positive this year, and it will get out of that drawdown eventually.
We hope.
Yeah.
We hope. But no, the 60-40 and, a really diversified portfolio. We have international that's up well over 20% for the year. Emerging markets up 20%. Small caps, even though they're not performing just like the large cap market, for the quarter, we are up like 8.5% in small caps.
Yeah, they're moving well right now. Moving in advance of those rate cut anticipations. I think we're looking at the CME FedWatch tool has us at an 83% chance for a cut in September. So we think that's pretty locked in. Year end had me a little surprised. It was straddling between a cumulative 50 and 75 basis point cuts through the Fed meeting in December. I think 75 is aggressive unless something bad happens. We've seen a couple weak points coming in the economic data, but not sure something that warrants 75 in cuts over the next three Fed meetings.
Let's expand on that. You said unless something bad happens. I mean, here we are. It's 3:00 on a Wednesday afternoon. The S&P 500 is at, I sound like a broken record, another all-time high today, right? Just shy of 6,500 on the S&P 500. What could possibly go wrong?
Inflation back. I don't know. More tensions. We've actually had some good news on tariffs late. Well, relatively from our perspective, I guess you would say. Canada and Carney taking a step back and reducing some of their tariffs in hopes of getting Trump back to the negotiating table. And then just today, Bloomberg was reporting that the EU is going to scrap tariffs on a lot of U.S. industrial goods, some agricultural, seafood, some things like that, in hopes of getting us back to the table to talk about, I guess, autos and wine and spirits.
Yeah.
So
it's good
who
stuff,
knows?
Right?
It would be interesting because no one really had that in the cards that tariff rates would come down from this point. If anything, people thought they'd ratchet up like we did on India. India is getting slapped with some big tariffs. What was it, 50%?
50%. It starts Friday. No, it starts today, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's tough. But if, I don't know, it'd be surprising if we could get the EU and Canada tariff rates dropping from here.
What was the one thing that caught my attention on India? Not the one thing, but we do a fair amount of our own cooking. And the one thing they were talking about was frozen shrimp. Now, I don't know. I don't necessarily look at exactly where all my seafood comes from. I probably should.
The Walmart shrimp?
No, I'm not a Walmart shrimp guy. I don't. Oh, yeah. That was in the news last week, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Where there was actually radiated shrimp.
Yeah. Cesium 137 or something like that. Don't quote me on that number. Cesium something.
That doesn't sound great.
No.
But we do shrimp, and they're already relatively expensive. I don't know. I don't think our shrimp come from India. They probably come from China. It would be awesome if they came from Louisiana. That would be pretty cool, but I'm not sure that they do. Not the ones I buy. How do you even know
probably totally fished those waters by now.
Like Forrest Gump.
Yeah.
Right? But so the other thing that's happening in the tariff world is this Friday, there's been a de minimis exemption for small packages that come into the United States, I guess since around like 1982, which means they don't have to pass through customs if they're labeled in a certain way. And that is disappearing. So if you're getting, I don't know, your Temu stuff and it's worth $120 and it's being shipped directly from China, that is now going to, my understanding is it's going to have to pass through customs, and it's going to be, the tariffs are going to be applicable on those products. Mm-hmm. So I don't know how much of an impact that's going to have. The stat that I was told was that it was the number of shipments has gone up by of de minimis labeled shipments has gone up something like 600% over the last 10 or 20 years.
It does make up a high percentage because it's those individual sort of orders from Temu, or what's the other one? Shein. I think that's in Singapore.
Yeah, Shein.
But yeah, under $800 makes up a large percentage of them.
Well, I mean, I don't think there's anything mischievous about it. We get a lot of stuff that we order, one-offs that are less than I don't order a lot of stuff that is more than $800. So you're buying a pair of shoes.
What about patio furniture?
Well, every once in a while, there's a big shipment of patio furniture.
Sorry, Elish.
Yeah, every once in a while that happens. You just have to roll with the punches.
That one click is dangerous.
It totally is dangerous. It totally is dangerous. But I think that was actually more than $800. So it probably got held up in customs somewhere, and we got it apparently. But, I said this earlier in the year, and I generally say this a lot on here. Like, we're at all-time highs. You can't bet against America and American innovation. Doesn't mean that there's not going to be times where the market goes down, but realistically, you always think, oh, we're at a new all-time high, we're bound to go down, and then we just
the
go
facts
higher.
Don't bore that out. Yeah, honestly, if you look at the stats, buying at an all-time high statistically works out better for you.
Yeah. Now, I will.
Investing is risky, but not investing is riskier.
Oh yeah, I love it. I love that line.
Think about how many people who sit on the sidelines because we just hit an all-time high. They never get in at a lower price.
Yeah. I mean, there are times where it's a reasonable idea to take money off the table, and it's really hard to determine when those times are. Looking
It's even
back,
harder to get back in.
yeah, looking backwards, I mean, you can say, hey, March of 2000 was a really good time to sell all of your stocks and move into the bond market. But how do you know any of that? You don't know. Looking backward, it's really easy. Looking forward, it's really, really hard. Looking backwards about a week and a half ago, it felt like there was momentum, even though we were pretty close to all-time highs. It felt like the momentum was pulling back a little bit. And then we got the Jackson Hole, Wyoming speech from Powell.
Big event,
right?
Always has some fireworks, always gets the attention.
Out there in the Grand Tetons, and they're talking about economics and some really interesting stuff, depending on, if you like economics or not. But essentially, he came out and he said, kind of did a 180 on the labor market. Because last month during the normal schedule meeting, he said labor market was good and there was no problems there. In this speech in Jackson Hole, he came out and he really was less positive about the labor market than he's been in a long, long time. Now, maybe some of that had to do with the fact that there was some obviously big revisions that have come out in the last year or so. Maybe he sees something, that obviously he's not sharing with us. But really what he did was he came out and I think he gave us like a relief rally, and not in the sense that the market was going down, and then boom, we had a rally. Relief in what he didn't say. He didn't come out and say that we're not going to lower rates and that there's no reason to do that. He came out and he said, no, it's starting to bear out a little bit. The tariffs, and the big thing that he did say was he didn't expect the tariffs to create an inflation monster. He expected them to be cause maybe like a one-time bump, and I don't mean a 1 month bump.
Say the word. Transitory.
Transitory, right. I don't know. I don't think he's ever going to use transitory again.
Removed from his vocab.
Yeah, I would be willing to bet that he's not going to say that ever again in his lifetime, except like on his deathbed. Maybe this is transitory. But he really came out and he was more dovish about lowering rates. And to your point earlier, with the expectations for at least a 25 basis point, 0.25% rate cut coming up here in September next month. And the market just went, rallied back to new all-time highs on Friday. Some of the market, the Dow did. NASDAQ did not. Techs did not get the bounce that everything else did, especially not small caps. Like I said, they're up 8.5% for the quarter. But I mean, he came out and he essentially waved the white flag.
Yeah, he said, an adjustment to policy may be warranted, based on softening in the labor market, essentially. And yeah, the yields dropped on that because he was holding strong for the longest time. Dollar dropped on that, and like you said, markets liked it.
Yeah.
We had a good Friday.
We did have a good Friday. And here we are. It's Wednesday and we're at all-time highs again. Now, even though we're at all-time highs, it's not only tech that is really moving the market. Okay, so tech is up, or growth is up, not technology, but growth is up close to 12%, 11.8% as of today. Value is still pretty strong. Your dividend payers, generally speaking, up almost 10%. And of course, we have Nvidia results tonight.
Yeah, they're up 35-ish% already year to date. Obviously, they have high expectations. The whole market's been waiting for it, as we sort of already mentioned their size. But yeah, they're projecting 49% earnings per share growth, 53% revenue growth year over year. Obviously, big numbers, down from their previous pace that they were on, but very high numbers. I think Blackwell is going to be announced in their guidance afterwards during the conference.
The Blackwell chips.
The next generation Blackwell, GB300.
Yeah. Well, I mean, AI is all around us. It's what everybody's talking about. And, we've had some ups and downs but it doesn't seem like it's going to go away. I
Mhm.
mean, you and I were talking earlier today about what technology is going to look like in 10 years or 20 years. I mean, you think about like your self-driving cars. I was driving around. Some people know we took a little trip to Spain, and I was in a rental car, and there was probably 5 or 6 times where I wish I didn't actually have to drive. I don't want to be on a bus, but I don't necessarily want to be driving. And then I think about, well, could I be in a self-driving car? Would I be comfortable with it? Somebody we know just took a Waymo ride out in, I don't know, maybe it was Austin or Phoenix or something. They said they, hopped in a driverless car, driverless taxi, and there was no problem. Tesla did have a little bit of an issue recently. Now, back in 2019, there was a pretty significant fatality. Somebody was driving down the road. I think it might have been a Tesla engineer, as a matter of fact,
wow.
driving down the road, dropped his phone on the side or on the seat next to him. I mean, that happens probably a million times a day throughout the United States. He somehow has the self-driving going, and he bends down to pick it up, making the assumption that the self-driving is going to continue with him, and he moves the wheel and swerves into an oncoming car. Somebody gets killed, somebody gets really injured. There's this whole lawsuit that has progressed, and essentially Tesla was offered $66 million payout. They declined. It went to a jury trial, and the jury found that the driver or Tesla was responsible for 33% of it. And the decision was in total $243 million.
Oof.
Yeah. Yeah. So, technology is not going to go away. Artificial intelligence is not going to go away, but I'm not sure that I'm ready for that. I mean, you have a Tesla. Do you use the self-driving?
I've used full self-driving, and I've never had an issue with it. I've only used it locally and on like really long trips on the highway. It works really well. I've never had an issue with it. He definitely had to have tugged the wheel and pulled it because it was a parked car he hit. I believe it was down in Florida, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I don't know. That's interesting. I also like driving, so I don't really utilize it. If I could like read a book and still be driving with FSD, that'd be cool. That'd be cool. I would use it then, but as it stands currently, you have to keep your eyes on the road and your hands on the wheel. It'll ding at you if you're not looking, or ding at you if you take your hands off for like 30 seconds. So I don't utilize it
Think
often.
how much more overall productivity would happen in the United States if we were doing something else instead of driving.
Yeah.
Right?
I definitely think it would be a benefit to the economy from productivity standpoint. Like I said, you could be reading or doing work while driving. You could be on your laptop instead of stuck in traffic, for example. But there's a lot of things that go into that. I mean, there would have to be a whole switch over of the vehicle fleet in the whole nation for everyone to get on that and to realize that. I think that's more of a pie in the sky right now, even though it's pretty baked into Tesla's share price. Obviously, they're not getting valued at an automaker PE ratio.
No. But don't you think at some point, I mean, I'm not anti-technology. I'm not a Luddite or anything like that. I don't want to go back to the rotary phone. But don't you think at some point there's going to be like everything is going to go to self-driving, and it'll be the idiots like me that won't maybe want to drive on occasion that what did you say, that we're not going to be allowed to?
Yeah, I don't know, somewhere in the future, maybe it's a cynical or conspiratorial view, but like in 25 years, I think of like they probably don't want us driving. Think about how many driver caused accidents there are that certainly not perfect as based on your Tesla example there, but
it was also 2019.
Caused purely by ignorance on your phone, drunk, or all these other ways that us drivers mess up and cause accidents. That could likely be, you have a significant reduction, I would assume, not only if if you were on a self-driving vehicle, but if everybody else was and somehow they communicated better,
Yeah.
I think there would be a better safety scenario.
Well,
but you might get penalized in the future. Like you said, you want to drive your car, but in the 25 years, you might have to pay like a premium on
but so
insurance.
if there's an
or something.
accident way down the road and all these cars are communicating, they can be like, oh, we're going to take an alternate route
Yeah.
automatically without having to, I don't know, turn on the radio or look at Waze. It just seems like it's going to happen no matter what I want or no matter what you want. It's coming down the pike. And the technology, I mean, I feel like 20 years ago, I saw something where General Motors was doing on their proving grounds in Michigan, where they were testing self-driving cars, but they were there was like wires built into the road, right? And they were like following a wire, almost like a train would follow the electric current above it, or subway or something like that. But these are like actually self-driving cars that are using technology, lure.
Do they do both? Do they do radar and lidar, or cameras and lidars? I guess the two that they marry, it's a little bit more expensive than Tesla's. They do just cameras, I think.
I don't know, to be honest with you. I have not been in a full self-driving car. I mean, I've been in the car with you. I don't think you ever turned it on when we were driving. I have some other friends that have Teslas, but I haven't. I don't know what they have. I don't know what the technology is. It's like Fifth Element, right?
Okay.
He's a taxi driver, but he gets in trouble with the law, and then they take his car over remotely. I mean, there's going to be a situation where technology meets the law, and they can just pluck you and tell your car to drive into the police station or something.
Yeah.
I mean, think about now on the turnpikes here in Pennsylvania. They have the technology to fine you if they wanted to, but they always said that they wouldn't do it with the Easy Pass, right? You hop on here, you drive to Philly, you hop off, and they can easily do the calculation of how fast you were going.
Yeah.
At what point did they do that?
Yeah.
And you're smiling because you always drive the speed limit, right?
Dead to rights.
We took the train this weekend, and there's no train here in Reading, but we drove about 40 minutes to Exton. And we took the train from Exton. It stops in a few other stops, but it stops in Philadelphia and then heads up to New York. We were up there for the U.S. Open on Sunday, which, by the way, was awesome. For people that like tennis, if you have an opportunity to go to the complex up there, which was built in, I think, 1964 for the World's Fair in Queens. It just an amazing experience if you're a tennis fan. So we went up, we saw the Medvedev and Bonzi match. We didn't stay for the fireworks.
Yeah, apparently there was some fun that occurred.
It was crazy. We were there, and we had been out and about all day long, and we left about 10:30, end of the beginning of the third set. Something happened where a photographer came out onto the court right about where he was going to serve again on the second serve, and the ref wound up calling it, and then Medvedev like freaked out, got the crowd all rallied behind him, and they had like a 6-minute not intermission, but a 6-minute pause because the
argument,
argument. Really, I mean, he was going crazy. He
accused the umpire or the umpires in tennis of like one not being paid by the hour.
Yeah. It was pretty crazy. The one thing that I noticed, in addition to just enjoying the heck out of being up there, there are no line judges anymore. At least in these big tournaments. So you have the ball boys, but there are no line judges. It's all, I mean, I would imagine it's the same type of technology that they use in baseball, right?
Well, if they would actually use it, they use the robo-umps in the minors, but not the majors yet. So the majors have less technology than the minors.
They don't need that ump back there, do they?
No.
I'm
ready. I was a pitcher who was the beneficiary of many outside painting, the corner.
Yeah.
But I'm not anymore. Bring in the robo-umps.
it was interesting to see, and they actually have like a robo. It's not a robo voice, but they have a voice that calls out or something like that, and it's not the ump. I mean, it is fully automated. Kind of interesting. I don't know that I love it because there's that human element in all the sport, but to your point, I mean, I think it's more accurate.
Mm-hmm.
But my whole point on that was, I wish we had a train. I hate driving in New York City, and that's why we started taking the train.
So does everyone.
Yeah, I mean, that is tough. In addition to it being relatively expensive, even just to park for overnight or something, now you have the additional getting into the city tax, the bridge tax, bridge toll. I mean, the train was like $50 a person round trip, $60 a person round trip. Great way to see the city. Highly recommend.
So you took the train home then?
Yeah, we went up Sunday morning.
I mean, from the match.
So not quite.
Donated to Uber.
Oh, yeah, we did. It cost us $3 to take the subway, the 7 line from Hudson Yards all the way out to the tennis complex. It was like $3 a person, and then I was with Ailish and Kirsty and her friend Kristen, and for some reason nobody wanted to take the train back, so we waited in the Uber line, and with the tip it was like $150 instead of $3 a person. That definitely was,
but it was comfortable.
It was comfortable, yeah. Air conditioned, comfort, right to where we needed to go. And we didn't actually go back to the hotel. We went to Empanada Mama.
Ooh.
Up on Hell's Kitchen.
Ooh.
That's what I need at midnight is empanadas, right? I don't know how I got off on that. But yeah, no more line judges up there, and I would love a train here in Reading. But how about the bond default down in Florida on the private train down there?
Oh, the just below speed train, or not speed train? What's it?
Well, it's
if it's over certain miles per hour, it's.
Is it a slow train?
Basically,
it's
below 175.
It goes from like Orlando to Miami.
Yeah,
but it's not Amtrak.
Yeah,
what's the name of
it? I've been seeing about them being in trouble for a while now, though. There's been talk that there hasn't been usage there. Brightline, and I don't think they're in default yet, but they deferred interest payments, which sounds like it's right there.
If you defer an interest payment, I mean, is that a deferred default?
I think so.
But I think they're
definitely a credit event.
Yeah, it's a credit event, all right. Aren't they trying to build a private Brightline also in the West Coast?
Yeah.
I don't know the details, but I mean, I'm not opposed to a train. When we were in Spain, we took a train we drove up to Bordeaux, and we took a train from Bordeaux to Paris to catch the flight home from Paris. And at one point, Ailish looks at me and she says, "How fast do you think we're going?" And I said, I look out, and it's fields at this point. I said, I don't know, 100 miles an hour? She looks over, she has her Waze on, 200 miles an hour.
Wow.
Yeah, a high-speed rail. And it was super comfortable. I mean, the seats were gorgeous. They were like your first-class domestic airline seats here, but even nicer than that. You're doing 200 miles an hour, and you don't even notice it.
I think we fumbled the ball not having high-speed trains across the country. We could have had that. We had all the infrastructure set up. Like, we had the lines. We had trains going everywhere.
Why do you think that never happened the way it did in other countries? Maybe in Japan, in China, in Europe. Why are there 200-mile-an-hour trains, 300-mile-an-hour trains in Japan, 200-mile-an-hour trains in Europe, and we're here on the Acela at 115 miles an hour?
We must have powerful lobbying groups for the automakers.
It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Henry Ford made sure that didn't happen.
I don't get that.
Yeah.
I mean, the amount of time lost on highways in America has got to be millions and millions of man hours. It's probably billions of man hours every year.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I agree.
I think something needs to be done.
Maybe I would love to go from here all the way down to Florida on just a high-speed train, because that is a heck of a drive.
It certainly is. Do you know how long it takes to get down there? I mean, depending on where you're going. If you're taking the auto train, it's like 21 hours or
Yeah.
something like that. If you go from Philly down to Miami on the train, I think it's like 27 hours.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Traveling with kids is tough. So like we don't want to drive there. We don't want to fly there. It's like, how do we get there? If we could do like a 5-hour train, that'd be ideal.
Yeah. How fast would it have to go to for that to happen?
200. No stops. Maybe in DC.
Nah,
Just
we
DC,
don't want
no.
to stop in DC. We definitely don't want to
Direct
stop
ride.
Yeah, we don't want to stop there. So on one of these, I don't know if I was listening to, it wasn't the radio on the train. I was probably listening to a podcast or music, but somewhere over the last few days, I heard an ad for Skechers. And I thought this was interesting for you because you have little kids. Now, I don't generally go around losing my shoes. I mean, occasionally. So I just heard this ad for Skechers specifically for little kids, that the Skechers shoes have a little pocket for an AirTag and it's find my shoes, and being
I don't know if I like that.
So Skechers, I mean, you're going to hear the commercials for it. It has happened. At the same time, wherever I was listening to the radio, I heard an ad for, I think it was Princess or Royal Caribbean Cruises, and they have technology on the ship, Find My Kids, where the kids wear some type of wristband, and either through like RFID technology, probably the same type of AirTag technology, that you can see where your kids are at any point in time. Is that something you would do?
In that situation, on a boat, on vacation, yeah, I probably would. Just so I can let them run amok and I don't need to worry about it, and I know I can find them like that if I need to. I don't know.
Technology, baby.
Yeah, until like they're like 10 years old plus, I don't know if I would let them just run amok. But then how much can you enjoy? Like you never get any free time, you know.
You know when they're coming back to the room. But I think the Find My Shoes
You're
thing,
plotting.
No, Find My Shoes thing I think is interesting. Right?
Oh.
Did you ever lose your shoes as a little kid? I'm sure you did.
I did have one scenario. I was going to my grandparents' house, 4-hour trip. I was like 5 years old, you know. Had to do a bush wee on the way up. We had to pull over.
It happens sometimes.
Up by the Penfield exit off of I-80. And yeah, you know, did what I had to do. Close the door. Apparently dropped my shoe out while doing it. And just one shoe sitting off the highway.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. So I guess in that sense, it would have benefited. Because we're like, where did we lose it? Where, you know,
but then
did you bring it? Chris, did you bring it? And I'm like, I don't know.
Well, I left the house with 2 shoes. We stopped on the highway 2 hours ago. Would your parents have gone back if they had the Skechers technology or the AirTag?
I think what happened in that scenario, my Aunt Sharon, I think, was coming up from Altoona, and we said we stopped here, check if you can. I think she might have grabbed it. I think she found it. I could be misremembering. I was 5.
Yeah.
It was a long time ago.
Oh,
I'm going to be 35 next month. You're going to be...
oh, boy. The big 5-0 next month.
Let's throw a party.
Yeah. I still think it's 1997. I still think I'm like, I don't know, 22. My body doesn't necessarily think that. My hair doesn't necessarily think that. My eyes don't necessarily think that. My brain does. Speaking of brain, I got to bring this up. I said about Bruce Willis in The Fifth Element. So there was this special on, I don't know if it was on demand or we watched it live last night, but most people know he had some type of aphasia, couldn't talk. Well, it turned out to be a very aggressive form of dementia. So they had his wife on, and really, really scary. You know, the scariest part about it was he's not in a position to understand what was going on. And he, you know, as best as the doctor described it, and I don't think it was his doctor, but someone else's doctor who's very familiar with the type of dementia he has, they just think everything's normal. But like he stopped talking, and in the beginning really like stopped paying attention to the kids and his wife, and she thought there was something else going on, but Yeah, if you have an opportunity to watch it, I grew up watching Bruce Willis movies.
Mhm.
I mean, Die Hard and Fifth Element, all of those great. I would say great movies. He had a few stinkers too, but like to see somebody like that in a reasonably young age go into a really bad form of dementia, it just makes me think like, do the things that you can while you can.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what's going to happen. As Ailish says, this is not a dress rehearsal, right? So, take that trip, have that experience, go see people that you haven't seen in a long time, because you never know when you're not going to be able to go.
Yeah.
I don't know, kind of hit home with me watching that last night. So anyway, didn't mean to go off on that tangent. What else do we have today before we wrap up here?
I think we're just looking forward, seeing if we can get that, see if we can avoid September seasonality.
Yeah.
That would be nice.
Yeah.
If we can have a nice CPI number coming up, that would be great.
It does seem like, though, the costs of the tariffs are going to eventually come through. And maybe it's not, it's not going to spark an inflation crisis, but there definitely has to be a rise in cost.
Yeah.
I mean, the producers out there, we saw the producer price index go up almost a full % last month. And it seems like it's going to continue to go up at least for the next month or two, possibly more. But they're not going to eat that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that goes into their earnings. They're going to pass it on. We saw the cost of, what did you say? Fruits and vegetables was up like almost
39%.
Yeah, 39%. Yeah. That's not tariff related, or at least I don't think it's tariff related.
Goldman Sachs had that report that I had mentioned to you, where they did a report. Right now, the U.S. consumer is only estimated to have received through pass-through of prices 22% of the cost of tariffs into what we're paying right now. But they did estimate, by Q4, that would go up to 67%, I think was the number. So right now, corporations are eating it, but that's not going to continue, is what their model or their projections are.
Yeah. I mean, they figure they can eat it for a little bit, but at some point they have to pass that on.
Mm-hmm.
And if it goes down, well, they think, well, maybe we'll eat it for a few months, see what happens. But at some point they have to pass that on to the consumer.
Yeah.
I mean, their shareholders won't let them continue to eat that. The CFOs won't let the CEOs. Well, I don't know how it works up at that level, but it doesn't seem like the CFOs are going to let the CEOs continue to eat that, or vice versa, right?
Correct. Yeah. And not to leave that point, but also would love to see this small and mid cap strength kind of continue here. They've lagged for so long.
Yeah.
Small caps are the only ones that haven't gone back to all time highs. If they could rally back and finally break through, they've been in like 3+ year range.
Yeah. Haven't been able to get to new highs. As someone very smart said to me back in the early 90s, the muscle's in the Russell, right?
Valid saying.
Yeah. So listen, next time we're sitting here, we're going to know what Nvidia says. We're going to know here in like an hour. We'll certainly have time to talk about that. But right now, all-time highs, and don't bet against America, anybody. For everybody at Good Life, thank you so much for listening. Send your comments or questions to Market Enthusiast at goodlifefa.com. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time.
The opinions voiced in this podcast are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which strategies or investments may be suitable for you, consult the appropriate qualified professional prior to making a decision. Economic forecasts set forth may not develop as predicted, and there can be no guarantee that strategies promoted will be successful. All performance referenced is historical and is no guarantee of future results. All indices are unmanaged and may not be invested into directly.